My name is Sander Dales, CEO of Shore Teams. Today, I have an interview with the founder and CEO of Decode, Mr. Ankur Maheshwari. Decode, based in Indore and Pune, India, has a remarkable client base, with clients such as GeoFirst, iFashion Group, Fandom Sports, Puma Pay, and many others. I truly hope you'll enjoy this interview and get some great insights. Hi, and welcome everyone. Today I'll have an interview with the founder and CEO of Decode, Mr. Ankur Maheshwari. Decode, they have offices in Pune and in Indore. So, welcome first of all, Ankur. I'm glad to have you here today. Uh, during this interview, we'd like to get the audience acquainted with Mr. Ankur and Decode, of course, and we'll ask him some questions and give you some wonderful insights about working with an offshore development team. So, welcome, Ankur.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Sanders.
Can you tell me the story of Decode?
Absolutely. So the history of Decode traces back to 2014. We started off as a small group of technical architects and consultants who noticed that new businesses wanted to solve their problem using cutting-edge technologies. So we joined hand and we launched Tech Races with a small office in Indore at that time. Indore is in central India and a handful of developers. So initially, we focused on providing services in niche technologies. So specific areas like blockchain, AI, and then as we kept growing, we found that a lot of our customers, they wanted us to handle all these stages of their development cycle. So I remember that initially we were short of developers due to our pretty strict hiring process.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, that's a great problem to have, right?
Yeah.
So we started putting a lot of extra work there, found some amazing world-class development talent, and they've been with us since the inception of the organization. So we then rebranded ourselves from Tech Races to Decode in 2019, and the journey has been pretty great since then as well. So today, I would say we are an organization of almost 200 developers solving technical challenges for clients spread across the globe. We have expanded to multiple offices in India as well. So we have our headquarters in Indore, and then we have another office in Pune in Maharashtra. We match up with the growing companies and we collaborate for end-to-end development with them.
Mhm.
And roughly put, I think we probably have around 600 man years of experience in developing software.
Yeah.
We've rolled out more than 70 live projects on web, mobile, blockchain, and AI. We work with a wide array of technologies, so Mean Stack, Mern Stack, these new things which are on the block. Then in the mobile front, we do almost everything. So native app, React Native, Android, Objective-C, cross-platform, all the usual stuff.
Mhm.
And then in early 2020, so this year, we also started a sister cloud division as well, which we call Mozo Cloud. And that has expertise in all DevOps related stuff. So there we work with technologies like Docker, Kubernetes, Terraform, stuff like that. So we acquired this experience in several years, and then we thought that we'll do a specialized cloud deployment firm as well. So that's the short of Decode.
Yeah. And what would you say are the I would say the strongest industries you're in?
Of course, web and mobile for sure. When you say industries, are you talking about technology wise, or are you talking more about business domain wise?
Business domain, I would say.
Our business domain, I would say, we have worked a lot with the gaming industry, so esports, fantasy sports. That's one of our areas of specialization. Then a lot with payment industry, especially in the blockchain sector. So we work with a lot of payment providers. That's again, and then e-com as well. E-com, of course, is a very popular industry when it comes to web. So those three are the ones that we have majorly worked on. But besides that, we are more of a technology company, so we work with a wide array of industries. So healthcare as well, then startups and dating. We've done a lot of work with that as well. So I would
Hmm.
say the industry experience is quite broad. Specialization, I would say, is e-commerce, payment, and esports.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And what is your background down? Please tell me that. I mean, how did you start, and how did you start with Decode?
So I was one of the founders, and so currently as a CEO, I lead the company's corporate and end-to-end development practices, and I am personally involved as well and responsible for delivering all these projects. So I maintain a personal relationship with all the clients, ensure that the team is performing as needed. And
Hmm.
then in my career spanning 2 decades, I have provided advisory support to a broad range of institutions, including, as I said, payment providers, gaming company, healthcare providers, and some supply chain work as well. So I've been lucky to work with both new and established companies. So we work with startup and enterprises alike. And I enjoy helping them navigate the market turbulence, which is caused by all these rapidly changing technologies. So most of the people that we work with, they come from more from business background, and then helping them understand how to structure the technical team, how to take the technical decision. That's where I come in.
Yeah. Okay. And so, what is then, as a CEO and as a leader of the company, and also, your relation towards the clients, what do you consider to be your secret sauce? For example, what are your, leadership principles that you have discovered and executed that, you feel have contributed to your success?
I would say the number one secret sauce is probably customer experience. So we believe that it is our job to zero in on the customer's mindset, the process, and understand what they really want. Hence, our offerings are usually around our customers' mindset, and the idea behind that is that we would bend or mold our operations and decision making such that our entire team sees the product as our customer sees. So we try and peek into what exactly they want, what is our customer's vision, what do they want
Hmm.
to achieve, how do they want to achieve, and then with that we start beginning creating experience that reflect the best version of the customer's product. And if I'm being absolutely honest, we do not consider ourselves to be just in the software business. I think we are more in the business of problem solving and
Yeah.
creating business solutions.
Yeah.
So value addition business per se. And because of that particular mindset, we have had pretty loyal customers that have been working with us for years. And the loyal customers keep us in the business, and it goes without saying that we have gained that loyalty by selling value per se. So besides technology, it's value addition and helping them create the best version of their team. So that's the
Yeah.
number one secret sauce.
Yeah.
Uh, if I have to say what next, then probably the fact that we really follow up on our promises. So I'll give you an example. When I buy something as a customer, a lot of times I have to call someone who promised me to call but they didn't. And there've been times that I hear, "Oh yeah, I read that email," or worse, like, "I was just in the middle of replying," and I know that they are actually lying to
Yeah.
me, and I feel that frustration, and I know that my customer would also share the same feeling.
Hmm.
So at Decode, we make it a point to follow through on our promises. No matter how trivial the task is, if we have committed to something, we ensure that we
Yeah.
actually do. And this is the very reason why we have built the rare reputation of always being there ahead of time.
Yeah.
So even while recruiting, we tend to focus on people who get things done, and then our customers also rely on getting things done. So
Yeah.
that's I would say is something that I've also learned during these years. And then I mean, last but not the least, it's been a long journey so far, and the technology industry changes very dynamically. So I would say the number three secret sauce would probably be innovation, like being abreast with the latest technology
Yeah.
changes that have been coming up. So I remember when we started, C++ and Java was what everybody wanted, but nowadays you see everything is moving towards JavaScript. Mobile has become so popular. People are moving away from on-prem services to cloud services. So we have kept ourselves with those changing times, and we have a small R&D division as well, whose main role is to see these new technologies and ensure that the talent pool at Decode is in sync with what the market needs.
Yeah. So basically, I would say client first, right? Um,
Yes.
and being a problem solver instead of a developer, right? So it's looking at the problem, and and I would say following through on what you promise, right, or what your people promise, and continuously innovate, right? If you look at tech stack,
Exactly.
right? Oh,
Innovation.
yeah, innovation, exactly. Interesting. Okay, so and who has been a great inspirator to you then, or who has opened doors? What other CEOs maybe globally do you look up to?
Well, I haven't really thought about this, but I would say I've been very impressed with what Bill Gates has done. So when it comes to general influence, I think Jobs, Bezos, Buffett, they have
Yep.
definitely been more influential. But at least I feel that no company has ever permeated all other industry globally the way Microsoft had done, especially under Gates' leadership. The technologies that he developed and then acquired, they have created and accelerated entire industries. And
Yeah.
they're probably at the core of almost every meaningful business that we know today. It's very difficult to actually go or talk to any organization that is not using at least one of Microsoft
Yeah.
products. So
Yeah. Which is
that's
incredible. That's an
incredible.
incredible achievement. Yeah, I totally
And
agree.
yeah, I think like if you look at it, Apple became a better company with better products in the public perception. I think years after Gates left and he started his own charity. But I think what we need to understand is that public perception is probably only a part of the big picture. The vision at Microsoft wasn't exactly to have better products for better public perception, but it was probably more to empower other companies and individuals to make them. And this is why I think they've always won.
Yeah.
And I think Gates has an amazing foresight, and Microsoft is involved in way more aspects of business than people really realize. And
Yeah.
it basically came down to the transformation of their most important product, which is probably Microsoft Office, and converting that into a service as well. And everybody needed that service. And I think they're still doing great. They still are. They have Azure and everything. But as a CEO, I really appreciate what Gates did, and then after that, what he's doing right now with his foundation.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that as well.
Yeah. So, if you want to follow in those footsteps, you have a long way to go.
Oh, those are not easy shoes to fill in. I'm
No,
pretty
no,
sure.
no, I'm sure too. Okay, so let's go back to Decode. What do you consider to be the biggest strength of Decode? We've talked, of course, about some of the stacks you are in and the verticals you're in. What do you think makes you stand out?
So I would say the what makes us. So should we first speak about the tech stack, or should we first speak about the verticals that we specialize
Well, it's up to you. It's okay.
in?
Yeah, go ahead.
uh, so I will break it down. Our biggest expertise at this point of time is, of course, web and mobile technologies. And in web technologies, we work with almost all open source framework. So that includes backend framework like Node.js, Ruby on Rails, PHP, Python, and Django. And then in front end, we work with React.js, AngularJS, Vue.js, Ember.js, all the new frameworks. Then, if we talk about cloud deployment, we work with all the three major clouds that are out there: AWS, Azure, and G Cloud. It comes to databases, we have expertise in both SQL and NoSQL. So we work regularly with Postgre, MySQL, and in terms of NoSQL development, we work heavily with MongoDB, Cassandra, Redis, if you can classify that as a database.
Hmm.
Then, if I start talking about mobile technologies, we have expertise in both native and hybrid technologies. So, native, we work with both iOS. In iOS, we work with Objective C and Swift, and in Android, we work with Java. And
Hmm.
with hybrid technologies, we work with React Native and Flutter extensively, and we also have some experience with Ionic. So this is on the web and mobile front. Besides that, Our other vertical is the blockchain vertical. So there we also have an R&D team that's working in blockchain. So we have our own blockchain, our own patented blockchain framework as well, which we call Blaze. But there we also work with Ethereum, helping people create distributed applications on top of blockchain. So
Hmm.
all the popular blockchain that we have there, Ethereum, then you have R3 Corda, you have Hyperledger Fabric. So that's what we specialize in. And we also help our clients with AI and ML needs as well. So that's another area that we work on. And as I mentioned earlier as well, lately we have started focused cloud deployment and DevOps expertise. So that's where I would say our tech stack or our major specialization lies in.
Yeah. Okay, and so if you look at, as you mentioned, you are, I would say rapidly growing. You have quite some people already. How do you take care of your staff and, create some sort of team spirit?
Uh, well, I follow Patrick Lencioni's The Five Dysfunction of a Team for this. I'm not sure if you've read this, but it's a pretty good book. So
Hmm.
the basic idea there is that to get a successful team in place in an organization and to get them to work together with and one another, you have to go way beyond just getting along. So the team must be able to truly trust one another in order to be successful. And that's what we try and do. We try and create an environment of trust, and so that whatever any person has in their mind, they can freely share their opinion.
Yeah.
And that's how I think great teams are built. So great teams do not hold back from one another, no matter how controversial or trivial the topic of discussion is. So we hold a lot of crucial discussions here at Decode. And then whether it is about choosing a tech stack or even minor details like where to go for the offsite, we have a very democratic decision making. We try
Hmm.
and involve the complete team in there. And the number one rule is trust everyone and be feel to share your opinion. So there's no ridiculing anybody. And we, I mean, we are mostly a young team, and like any other young team, we host a lot of parties and events, and we have a culture of fun here.
Yeah.
But I think that's most of these things are for fun, and I personally feel that building team spirit is as simple as getting to know each other on a really personal level, being able to trust each other, being able to be there when the other person needs you, and that's how we have built this amazing team that we have today.
Yeah. That sounds amazing. And for the viewer or listener, can you please at least mention once more the book?
Absolutely, the five dysfunctions of a team. That's the book that I have
There you
found
go.
really helpful.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, for anyone who's looking for that, those are great insights and great tips for people who are, dealing with these things. So thanks for that. And so, if you look at, of course, you do a lot of remote work. All your people do a lot of remote work. That's what you focus on. So, what tools for collaboration and remote work does the team and do you have experience with?
Oh, we've been working remotely for quite some time now, and we personally feel that over communication is very very important in building trust initially, and we have used a variety of tools. So I tend to segregate tools into two parts. So one is your basic communication tool, and then there is the project management tool. So for communication, we earlier used to use a lot of email and Skype, but nowadays Slack is the most popular tool that we use.
Yeah.
But besides that, the team also sends daily status update emails, and then if the client is or the customer is more comfortable with using Skype, we use Skype. Then for project management, we use Trello, we use Asana, we use the complete Atlassian suite, Jira, and everything.
Yep.
So we personally tend to sort of gel with what the client already has. So we don't pick and choose as to you have to go with this particular communication tool. But if you ask me, what would I prefer if I have to do a remote job, then I would say Slack is number one for sure. It's probably the best thing that has happened for
Yeah.
keeping communication in sync. And then if it's a small project, we prefer Trello. If it's a bigger project, then we prefer Jira. or
Yeah.
Asana, how the case may be.
Yeah. And so if if a client would start for the first time with a remote development team, what kind of resources would you recommend, people to start with to actually build the team?
Actually, it's interesting because since COVID-19 hit, right, McKinsey came up with a great article on how to actually create your businesses remote. Because nowadays, because of this pandemic, almost everybody has to work remotely,
Yeah.
and I think they came up with really good things in that particular article. But personally, I would suggest the following steps for starting a remote development team. The first is try to have a complete chalked out plan for your app, especially when you have a team that's working remotely in a different time zone. It's very important that they understand what your vision is. So it's not necessary that you have a very detailed plan every stepwise, but at least when it comes to vision as to what the end product should be when the users are using them, there should be a very good clarity between you and the team. And that's where initially I really suggest over communication to build that trust, to get to know each other. So maybe even hop on 3 calls a day. That's fine. Uh, and then be very specific about the people that you need. So most of, especially when it comes to startups, they really are both budget and time sensitive. So you need to ensure that you get the right team and the right mixture of team. So one of the advantages of working with a development agency like ours is that you have a huge talent pool with you, and you can pick and choose what sort of team would you need. So you probably need an architect who you maybe need for 5 hours a week, and you then probably would need initially an HTML developer, and then later on in the cycle you would need a DevOps guy. But be very clear about what type of resources you would need when. And then I would say another important thing to keep in mind is the code quality. Uh, Most people do not focus on that, and it's about hitting the market early. But experience has told me that if you hit the market early, but if you hit it with bad code quality, then it becomes a huge issue in maintaining that code.
Yeah.
So ensure that you have somebody who is actually whose job is to just orchestrate this entire operations.
Hmm.
And then be very upfront with your team. Like, don't hesitate in sharing that you have an investor meeting or you need to get something done. The earlier that you know there is a red flag, you should probably raise it. That's what I think is very, very important when it comes to remote development.
Yeah.
Over communicating to build that trust, and then being very, very transparent and honest in communication.
Yeah. Okay. And so if you would start with a new client, with a new team, what is your typical process?
Well, we follow a four-step process for this. We have a pretty laid down four-step process. So the first step is to get on a quick call with our customer and then understand what they need. Sometimes the customers already have a tech stack in mind. Sometimes they're business customers and they just have the goal in mind. But our first job is to understand what they want to do. After that step is done, then the second step would be to understand what they need and what sort of team would actually be required to get that particular job done. And then, so then there are two processes. One is if we are staffing them, then we would send them resumes of our developers who would be working with them on a team. And if you're actually doing the project turnkey, even then we make it a point to share a profile of developers who would be working with them on that particular project so that they
Yeah.
have a good idea. Uh, then the third step is generally for the client or the customer to meet our team, and then we do a small test job for them so that the team also gets to know the customer, and the customer also gets to know the team.
Hmm.
There, sometimes customer prefer taking a small interview, a technical interview, or sometimes they prefer giving us a small test task. Sometimes we voluntarily do a small test task for them because we also understand that they are basically sharing their dream with us. So it's very important for them to build that trust with us. So we do a
Yeah.
very small 2 days test task with them, getting to know that sort of a phase is what we call it. And then if everything goes out fine, if they like the way we work, we are enjoying working with them, then we execute the project execution agreement is what we call it. And that's the fourth step of getting started.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So thanks at least for explaining that as well. And if you look at the the collaboration with Short Teams, what do you think of that?
Oh, I believe that our collaboration with you guys started this year. I think it was February. I'm not sure, but so far it has been amazing, and I cannot think of a better agency than Show Teams to help with our needs at this point of time. You really seem to know your people inside out and the businesses, and our teams have really got along really well. So we are really excited to work more closely
Yeah.
with you guys and
Yeah.
have a great long-term collaboration.
Sounds good. And so, what do you consider then our, to be our biggest strengths, if you look at least regarding maybe the collaboration with you guys?
Well, I think where we feel you've really helped us is in understanding what customers need and connecting us with the right customers. So every minute that we have spent with you has been worth it. So that's really great. We have worked with some other agencies in the past and they just throw leads at us. But whenever we have collaborated with you, it has always been really something where we were a very close fit to what the customers needed. I think you also know what your customers want, how they are comfortable, and you really help in bridging that initial trust deficit that is always there in new relationships.
Yeah.
That's
Thanks,
been
man.
amazing.
Yeah. Okay. So we're close to running out of time. So last question. What do you think? In which direction is IT moving in, let's say, the next 5 years? What do you think?
Okay. Uh, there's so many things that I want to say, but I'll try and keep it short. I feel like automation and customization of consumer products is what will continue for the next 5 years. And hopefully, we'll see a transformation in the finance and education sector and they'll start incorporating more digitization and automation than
Yeah.
what they currently do.
Yeah.
And I think AI field will, of course, be pretty amazing. Although I'm not completely convinced that we'll have general AI, but I expect that yeah, we'll have programs that are able to be trained to do various moderately complex mental tasks. I even feel maybe not 5 years, but 10 years, and I keep telling my developers as well that the way I have seen development progressing in the last 10 years and how easy it has become to now launch minimum viable products and proof of concept. Even coding the way we know it will probably change in the coming 5 years. You'll have a
Yeah.
lot more super awesome tools available that
Yeah.
will help you get the job
Yeah. And it
easier and
seems to
faster.
like get faster and faster and faster every time.
Oh, yeah,
It's
absolutely.
amazing. Okay, so well, thank you very much for your time today and for your wonderful insights, and of course your introduction to Decode as well. And I think for many, this will give at least a wonderful view of what you're up to and how you can help them. So thanks again for your time today, and I'm looking forward to a bright future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye. Thanks for taking the time to watch or listen to this interview. Would you like us to introduce you to Decode or some of our other partners? Let us know in the comments or send us an email at info@shoreteams.com.